Hey everyone, I'm back with another video this week, and I have to ask a question to begin with. Is it the skill of the photographer or the price of the lens that really matters? And I'd say it's the skill of the photographer that matters. And that's why I decided to go with a budget lens this week to kind of test myself out, but also to see what it could do at $60. It seems like a pretty good entry point for some entry-level photographers. Or just people that are hobbyists. So let's go ahead and introduce the lens. It is a $60 7 Artisans 18mm f6.3 lens, and for me it is part of the budget conscious part of me for the $60 lens. Plus someone that's starting out, I think that would benefit from it because it would give you limitations to kind of push your creativity, because if you're not able to zoom in and out, you got to move your feet to move to your subject, and it's a manual focus, so it's something that you'll have to dial in, and it helps you kind of understand how the light works and where your focus lengths are and what you need to do to get stuff in frame, and I think that's important for a skill for you. So let's talk about the you get what you pay for mentality. And of course, with the professional lenses, they're going to be way more expensive. You're going to get better glass, build quality, image quality, autofocus, all sorts of things to make your job easier if you're out doing that kind of stuff. And some of these other lenses that maybe just $45 more, it could have autofocus and a variable aperture, but this is more of like budget conscious, like very like run and gun cheap photographer, like people that want to have something that's just like a hobby that you do on the weekend or something like that. It's not for someone that's out here trying to do professional jobs with this. Although I would argue that it would be fun for a professional to pick up one and go take photos with it, and just to get to enjoy something that looks like a disposable camera. So as for the the cheap lenses, the stereotypes are there for a reason for those. Not stereotypes, but more like there are limitations for these. There's a problem with vignetting, distortion. Sometimes the autofocus is slow, especially with this, since it's manual. It's going to be harder for people to gauge where they need to have the focus at. So these things are the things that you have to think about whenever you buy something that's like this in this price range. But let's talk about this specific lens at this point. So it has the one thing that stands out to me for it is it has good build quality. It's metal, and it has a good solid focus ring where it's not like moving fast and stuff. So if you end up taking a shot and walking with it, it's still going to have the same focal length for the next time you get to your next shot. And at the end of the day, for me, a lot of this stuff really just comes down to portability, because if you're not taking this with you, if you're not taking your camera with you to practice, is it really worth it at all? And is it fun for you? Because if you're lugging around lots of equipment and big lenses and multiple camera bodies and stuff like that, you're not going to take it out and go have fun with it, and then it kind of loses. I feel like it loses the reason why I got into it, because I love it. It's fun, and I get to create things. And I feel like this is one of those things that you can actually do, because it pushes you into a box where there's so many limitations on you. So since it is an f6.3 that's fixed, you're in a low light situation is not going to be an option for you. You're going to have to use sunlight, off-camera flash, on-camera flash, other just even static lights that just are on for you. Those things are going to be important, because if you don't have something that's a light source, you are not going to get the image. However, I think a lot of this yields itself to other projects or other means of use than doing something in low light, because you wouldn't pick this up for that. I'll go ahead and add some images here, and I will say that I did notice some vignetting and softness, and towards the edges especially, there's a lot of softness, vignetting, and sometimes the focus wasn't the best. Even when it was at infinity, there wasn't stuff in infinity that was in focus. So those are the things that I think that you'll look at and maybe have an opinion on, and I would love to hear it down in the comments. Though I will say that this thing does put out some sharp images depending on the situation that you're in and how far you are away, because it is much like a disposable camera lens. So these things can put some pretty nice nostalgia factor to them. And I think that's one of the draws for this lens for me, because it looks like a disposable camera, and that was one of the things that first got me into photography. I was a kid whenever there was 35mm was like the norm. You had to send it off to a lab or take it to Walgreens, something like that, and get it developed. And that's something that I look at. And the only thing I really come back to, and because I bought a 50mm 1.8 back in the day for my Canon, is that this thing's made out of metal. The 50mm from Canon was made out of plastic, though it had autofocus and could change the aperture, things like that. Those were important features. But the problem for me is that it was plastic, so it fell apart eventually, and over time, even in the first few years, it was having issues because it would be jostled around. Some of the parts would start to slow down, or it'd have issues with focusing in on the right places, or even if it did focus in, it wasn't all the way. So it was one of those floating things for me. But it was also T3i. It's back a long time ago. It's possibly that there was something wrong with my camera. So those are the things you have to look at for this. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons for this. The pros for it are it's affordable. It is fun to shoot with. It's small and compact to be able to take it with you, and it's just fun to shoot with. And the cons is that it has soft edges. It's got distortion in some spots. And also, it kind of depends on the one you get, I think. I don't think the quality assurance is real high on these, for the $60 price tag. And I think the biggest con of all for a lot of people is going to be low light shooting, so inside is just out of the question, unless you have something to make a lot of light happen in the inside area. Or you end up changing ISO to bumping it up real high and be able to keep the shutter speed at a decent pace where you don't have a bunch of ghosting from your subjects. Although, in summary here at the end, final thoughts is that it's a good, fun lens to take out with you, and I think for budget photography it would be a great starting point because it would give you some good places to go. Street photography for me is one of the things I love to see because it's kind of like candid, raw in the moment, things that you can kind of look back on, and it's just kind of an artistic piece because you can kind of see on people's faces what they're thinking at the moment, or if they're just at ease, stuff like that. Those are the things I enjoy about street photography, and I think it's a good one to start out with. Even if something you just do on the weekend with your friends or something like that, it's something that I find that I really enjoy doing with other people, and I think that would get you into the photography community with other people and learning how to network with them. It just gets you started in your hobby, and I think that's one of the most important pieces for this, at least in my opinion. I would love to hear what did I miss, what should I have said, what should I have tested more, what's some things that you would like to have seen from this lens, or from anything else that you would like to have me review, or if you'd like to see. And please also decide if you would like to like or dislike this video. I really would love to see either or, because that way it gives me a good indication of if I'm doing better or worse. And I really appreciate you staying to the end of this video. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.